Hello, this is Tim Wright. Welcome to Being Reintegrated. So, I was just reading some of my Daskalos material recently. I had a friend on the internet provide me with the missing lectures that I did not have from the early 1990s of Daskalos. So I have a pretty big search archive, and I found that in a symbol I've been studying for a long time called the symbol of life. Um, Basically, what Daskalos said, just to use his words, because I can mess it up really easily, that uh, Raphael is darkness to our eyes, and this is the violet light. I was so profoundly hit by this because it tells me that basically this book that I translated, the Frere d'Orient Yoga, you'll see it up there. I just had to grab it off the shelf. That essentially, when you work with any of the darkness goddess energy, you're working with Raphael. And I love the way Daskalos calls it because he says that Raphael's plural, Michael's, Gabriel's, Uriel's, and he uses the plurality for these spiritual hierarchies. But I love it because, I was able to get the book published that I'm talking about. I don't know how it happened, but for some reason I was able to get the Frères d'Orient stuff into publication. And it starts to talk about astrological ways to work with this dark light. But the dark light, according to Daskalos, which I really do believe in, he says that is the Raphael, that it is darkness to the human eyes. So the thing that I studied and learned about in my Illuminism of Genesis books, which you can go see on the Omni Shelf. I mean, I'm just talking about the things because this is active research and interesting to me. That anyway, thanks for staying with me. The light that's talked about in the fiat lux of the Genesis story, the let there be light, it actually says that essentially that there's a law of light, that everything is light. There is no such thing as not light. So what I see as my particular light is not necessarily light. It's light within the light. It's not real light. It's just a light that I can see. And it's not a light that only exists in relationship to me. Light is everywhere, all through everything. There's no such thing as not light. So this is the beauty of Daskalos because, there's a lot of myths about him being some kind of teacher from the cosmic chain of beings and on and on and on. But what he's actually saying is pretty profound, that there is nothing but light. So he's not using Genesis ideographic ways to say it, but really that's all there is that what we see as darkness, what we comprehend as darkness, what we put into epistemological dark categories is actually the violet light of Raphael. I found that so amazing because, you ready for this one? The violet light is the ray of the Holy Spirit. I'm so happy that that was revealed, that Raphael's holy spiritual light is darkness to our eyes. So, it's almost like an AC/DC Back in Black kind of thing, which is like there is the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. I love that because there is no way to understand light in light. Light needs darkness. So this is what Daskalos also says, is that Samael is the darkness of the cosmos, and we're not really supposed to interact with the darkness. If you interact with the darkness, it polarizes and tells you that there is only darkness and light, not that there's only light and there's no such thing as darkness. It doesn't do that to our mind. So we see darkness so we can see light, but the light is not light, it's dark predicated light. This is stuff that's really challenging and really nuanced. But what I found was the esotericism in Genesis that I've talked about it ad nauseum, but we can keep doing so. The light of the fiat lux is not, there's a divine God and God said now there's light in the chaos and void. That's not quite what the story is. That is what Daskalos would call, in the symbol of life, the holy logoic. So in the logos, there is structure and form, and in the chaos, there is also light. So we're reading a logoic presentation in Genesis of a separation from the all light into the relative light, so to speak. I think that's amazing stuff. I think that we are so far beyond any kind of doctrine that has been thought out when we go to those categories, and Daskalos is doing it. So as a Gnostic kind of messenger, he's really helping us through the modes of understanding here. I find it so amazing that the Bible is about the logoic light. When it says that God is light, let there be light, it's saying split the totality, as you can see up here, into the logos and the holy spiritual. And there is no real way, according to Daskalos, to get out of that paradigm. He calls it absolute infinite beingness. I love this kind of teaching because it is absolutely tied to the Cohen exorcisms and then ultimately to the restoration of your powers in the Rokwa. Now, we could pretend that it's all about Masonic stuff and Masonic mythology and, legends and all of that tell us where everything is going to eventually end up and what it is. But Masonry is based on the builder tradition. And what I love about this is Daskalos kind of acknowledges that architect just a little bit. Now, I'm not polarizing here. I think there's absolutely a use for the holy logoic light that we can see and use, and so it helps us get into the realm of being so we can start to discern across the symbol into the holy spiritual, as Daskalos would call it, or the ultraviolet light, which is darkness to our eyes. So, that being said, the Friars d'Orient book, it amazes me that we're now able to get so deeply into that with my friend who gave us the missing lectures. And I guess there's a Greek group that has made some videos too that I'm going to try to get internet tools to do. But the Becoming the Vision book up there that you can get on Amazon is all about this dark yoga and all of this Kali, all of this darkness, all of this shadow stuff. Daskalos helps to order what it really is, and I'm so happy to have found that. I haven't found that anywhere. I have not found anywhere that they talk about the light is actually Raphael, because it's just so deeply structured that we can't see that it's light. So it looks like darkness to our eyes, but it's actually still light. It's just an ultraviolet light beyond our logarithmic, senses and sensorium. I find that so cool. part of the mystical vision that restores back to you when you do this doctrine of material. You start to exercise your eyes from the blocks that are there. That's why I think Yeshua said, why try to help your brother with a speck in his eye when you have a log in yours? And this is what it looks like a little bit, is like there's a block to seeing real wholeness when you're not whole. So this is why I'm not loath to talk bad about the spiritual healers out there. That's not my job. I'm just saying that you better know what this stuff is. If you're going to go on the healing and helpful circuit speaking to people in seminars and lectures, you better understand what you're talking about. Otherwise, it's not going to make any difference. The darkness that's in me is not fooled by your acting out of a light archetype. I'm not fooled. And it's okay, I might be a pretty antagonistic person, but there's others that are like me out there, and they won't be fooled either. So I'm really grateful that Daskalos has given us this, and also I'm really grateful that I had a friend that gave me a larger fund of Daskalos material, because that helps me a lot to be able to present stuff like this. Daskalos was a teacher that I highly recommend to everybody. Although complicated and very difficult to really take in what he's saying, I think he was a spiritual master, and a lot of other people do too. So I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to acquire this material. I'm not trying to sell it. Probably won't be publishing anything, although you never know. So thank you, and also please, even though there's darkness everywhere, please never forget that it's only darkness relative to our dark apprehending senses, and that Daskalos, the teacher, said that it is actually one of the archangels.